Hi, everyone, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and I'm your host, BMR. And as always, I'm joined by the bearded one, Tex. If this is your first time here, please subscribe on YouTube to Tex's Front Porch. Give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and don't forget to hit the alert bell. You can find us on Odyssey Radio, iHeartRadio, and on Facebook at Texas Front Porch. You can also reach us by email at paracryptidencounters@gmail.com or by text at 972-559-0988. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube to Bigfoot Michigan Rob. If you enjoy our content and would like to support us, the Super Chat is always open, or you can Venmo us at @Tex6717. Thank you and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. It's me, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, joined with, of course, the bearded wonder, my great buddy Tex. I'm going to bring up Tex right now. I'm going to get in a couple. I can tell you what, we've got a great show in store for you, and we've got a real trooper hanging out back. We have Kristen
Well, you ain't
Payton.
kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, folks, she is suffering from a bout of laryngitis. And, Tex, we gave her all the options. We told her, hey, it's fine if you want to come back another time, reschedule. But she's such a trooper. She said, no, the show must go on. And you know what? We're going to see how far we can get. If not, well, in fact, even if the show goes the full gamut, we'll have her come back anyways, because after talking to her backstage, Tex, I got a real good feel for this show today. And thank you, Kristen, for that. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that Mondays, Texas Front Porch, 6:30 Central, Tex and Jason McLean. All shows could be found on Texas Front Porch. Please subscribe if you haven't. Wednesdays, Jason McLean Questions Everything is at 9 Central. Jason and I kick back and talk about, he questions everything. Check it out. Thursdays, of course, noon Central, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob and Tex. And a newer show that just came out, I think, last week with Jason McLean, the Serial Papers. That's at 9 Central. And, of course, the lovely, the talented Jessica Jones, Remote Viewing Investigations, Fridays, 8 Central. And, Jessica, I see you out there. I sent you a text. I don't know what the show is about Friday, so maybe you can drop that in the chat room for everybody. And, of course, the Bama Bigfoot Conference, June 10th and 11th. Tex, Jason, myself will be speaking. Bunch amongst other great researchers and experiencers, and, of course, Jessica Jones may be she may be dropping by. And guess what? Southwest corner of the stage, Jessica and I giving out free selfies. We'll sign autographs, any part of your body. I suggest you bring some paper because we don't want to get too lewd and crude down there. So please come on down. And even Kristen might even make an appearance. So I don't know. It's going to be a really fun time. And with that, I'll bring up Kristen to the show because we want to preserve her voice. And
well, Kristen,
so
I want to apologize first because what the conversation didn't go quite like Rob was talking about. I was the one that was trying to get, we don't mind if you want to reschedule and everything. And Rob was like, she don't do the show. I'm gonna beat her with a hose. So I don't.
Yeah, Yeah, you know what? Kristen, I'm sorry, Kristen. I'm sorry for saying, look, if you don't come on, I'm never having you back on. I'm my friendship with Jessica ends, and you know what? Forget it.
Yeah, I had to. It was a no-brainer.
She was Rob had her so scared. She was in tears. And,
me.
Yeah, see, she's still wiping them away.
Yeah.
Be here. My voice just isn't that great. I just hope it lasts through the show. What little bit I have left.
Well, you know what? Like we said, if it don't, and you need to bow out, hey, we totally understand, and we got a pretty understanding audience too. So hey, you, like Rob said, you're a trooper. You're trying to go through it anyway, and wow,
Gosh.
Mike's Adventures already kicking off. Thank you, Mike.
He's ready. Thank you, Michael.
Um, you know, we were talking a little bit off air, and Kristen is before we get into the whole Bigfoot thing,
Sure.
because she's got some pictures that I really want to get into. Um,
Yeah.
it you me and you kind of have a something in common. She's an RN. I worked as a emergency medical technician for a while, so we were kind of sharing war stories a little bit, and I'm guessing that when we do meet up, that's probably going to be a lot of our conversation.
Of course.
But we're both trauma hogs. We love it, and for those of you that don't know what that means, is basically you'd rather work on trauma than somebody that's sick.
Yep, exactly.
We had a joke in the field, and I talked about the morbid sense of humor, and we had a running joke. It was which way is the correct way to roll a patient when they're throwing up,
Oh.
and it was all, and you ask people, and if you ask it serious, it's always like, well, you roll them to their side, blah blah blah. Well, the correct way to roll your patient is towards your partner.
You.
Exactly. But you've been researching. Now I'm going to try to I want to kind of keep the questions where you don't have to get into talk a whole lot.
Okay.
So it's going to be kind of a very straightforward interview for a while. But Rob, every time you do it, every time choose one and chat under that name.
Oh, it's under all
There's
right
an option
now.
up here where you have all,
Yeah,
or you
gummit.
can pick where you're going to check under.
I see it right now. Now I'm doing it right now. I gotta find the button here. That's why I didn't become an engineer or go into computer science. Now I just screwed up my entire computer system here.
He goes to pushing buttons, and all bets are off. We don't know where we're going to end up. But
I gotta get those. Okay, here we go. I gotta get one of those floating keyboards. As I made mention some time ago, my keyboard that I'm using, it goes haywire, and I don't like using my phone to talk to people in chat. So Chatty Cathy when I'm doing a show, because my keyboard I don't trust. I just don't trust it. Anyways.
So,
well, we do have some great pictures too. So we got a great store in a great show in stores. Thanks, Tex. Thanks for getting me all flustered.
Well, it's your turn. How long is it? Well, how long have you been doing Bigfoot active research?
It really started once I got out of nursing school, so around my mid-20s, really. So I had an experience at the age of 16, and that turned me on big time to Bigfoot because I couldn't explain what I saw, and I had to know more. So I started meeting up with actually a couple local researchers, and that just branched out from there. So probably getting close to the 10-year mark that I've been out in the woods.
Well, that's something else that we have in common that I don't think you may or may not know. I don't know if you heard it or not, but my first cryptid experience was when I was 16 too.
Wow.
So, yeah, but mine, I say it all the time. I wish I'd have seen a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But mine was a dog man. So
that's amazing.
But
yeah, and
I heard about your encounter. I heard about it, and it was
It was
y'all,
scary.
yeah, y'all kind of, you didn't know if you was gonna make it out of there.
No, I didn't. And at that time, like I said, I was 16 years old, and the adult with me was early 50s. And so when she's over here screaming and saying, "We're going to die," I thought, uh-oh, I might die. So, but we got out of there safe. And the way I look at it is if it wanted to hurt me or kill me at that time, it could have. I mean, I was nothing. It could have snapped me like a twig, but it didn't. And so far, so good. I'm still here today.
Yeah, and really briefly too, Kristen, Texas made a comment that he had his dogman encounter, and he had said that he wishes that it would have been a Bigfoot encounter. And then, of course, when we get into your encounter a little bit, my encounter too that I had was terrifying. I didn't know it wasn't good. Okay, when I first, prior to, I wasn't even into Bigfoot. I kind of figured they existed, but I seen this thing, and what happened to me on my encounter said, "Man, Bigfoot's bad. It's evil." Today, I don't think that, Kristen, but for being my first encounter, it wasn't the friendly forest giant that a lot of people portray. And again, today, I said it's fine. I don't think they're evil. There's good and bad in all cryptids, just like there's good and bad in all humans. But to have your first encounter, like you had, like I had, it just puts your mindset moving forward is different. So when you had your encounter, what were you thinking? Were you thinking that, oh my gosh, see this again? Or did it set you on a path, which obviously it did in the research?
It did. I wanted to know more. My encounter happened. I was in the woods at my parents' property, and the something started coming towards us, and we were 30 acres deep in the woods on the corner of a property lined with a creek and basically a beaver pond or swamp area. So when this thing come toward us, we were cornered. We had nowhere to go. And the trees literally were bending as it was coming toward us. So it was huge. And I've seen bear. We've got bear on the property. I've seen bobcat. I've seen panthers. It wasn't that. And this thing comes and stands between the four-wheeler ATV and us. I could not see what it was, but it was so massive. Through the leaves and the trees, you could see basically it blocked out all the light. So you could see exactly how wide it was, how tall it was. But you couldn't see detail. It was far enough in the tree line to where you couldn't see detail.
Yeah.
Lasted probably a couple minutes or minute. I mean, it seemed like an hour. And I guess when it realized we were terrified and we weren't going to hurt anything, it just casually turned and walked away. And as it walked through a big path, you could see its arm come out and swing as it walked. That's when I knew for sure this is not a person. Too big. Not a bear. It's on 2 feet. Not a panther. I mean, what could it be? And we've had other experiences on the property where like Bigfoot, and we're like, no, not here. But that hooked me. I'm like, this has got to be what it is. And there's nothing else it could be. So now it started a quest. I want to know more. I want to see a face. I want to see his body because I got a good look at his arm and hand. But I want to see more now. But it's out there.
It's how tall do you think it was?
It was a good, probably. I mean, it had to be at least 7 foot tall.
Mm-hmm.
The way I describe is I've been up against football players with all their, shoulder pads equipment on. And this thing was as wide, if not wider than them, and taller. So it was massive. Unless there was this huge, linebacker wearing a suit. There's nothing else it could have been.
Right,
was
right.
big.
Yeah, it's kind of like my first Bigfoot sighting, unless it was a, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar running off through the wheat field with a fursuit on, I don't know what else it could have
But
been.
yeah, there's no other explanation. I have no clue.
So
But
after that, how long did it take you to start? How long did it take you to get? Because I mean that's a terrifying encounter. It really is, and I don't know what it had in its mind. I don't know if it was trying to spook y'all. Maybe y'all got a little too close to some little ones, or it could have been anything. We don't know.
yeah, because it come at us mad.
Right.
And I think when it saw we were harmless, it was like, forget them. I'm going on about my day.
Well, did it vocalize at you or
No,
nothing, huh?
no.
Yeah,
The
and
woods were silent.
in addition to that, did you get a good description of like what it kind of looked like in the face area? Did you get a chance to see that? I know you just
No.
I was listening to what you were saying, but it was just
No.
I and I'm kind
So
of I can't hear right now, but go ahead.
so you had after you had this encounter, like I said, underwear changing moment scared the bejesus out of you.
Yes.
What I'm interested, what happened when you got back?
They thought we were a little nuts. It was actually, I played in a band. And so we were on break from band practice. So when we come back screaming bloody murder that we just saw this thing, they were like, what? No, you saw a bear. You saw a bobcat. And we're like, no, you don't understand. And then they were like, okay, well, we'll see. But we were terrified. Like the other girl, she would not even venture out. She would usually ride the ATV on break. Yeah, she stopped doing that. She'd stay right with the band.
With good reason. I can understand that,
Yeah.
So how long after that did it? I'll be dead gum. Nate Rudge in the chat. Hello, Nate. How long after your encounter did you decide, you know what? I'm going to go out looking for these critters. I'm not smart enough to stay home.
It was probably a good 4 or 5 years before I actually started researching in the woods. Before I started meeting people, because I sure wasn't going out by myself.
Right.
And after I reported this to BFRO, well, I had some members contact me and then local people in the area as well. So I started going out with them and researching because I'm like, yes, I'm interested. I want to know more. They're like, come on. So I just met more and more people. And now I'm traveling to Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, just along the South.
You know what? And I've come to find out that North Carolina is a hot spot.
Yes.
And as well as Georgia and Alabama, that whole area really.
Right.
And I haven't heard a whole lot about South Carolina, but they do seem to like North Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama for some reason.
Yes.
And I think it's just our Southern hospitality. But more the merrier. Y'all come on in. But I found that when people have this kind of experience, especially a terrifying one, they go down one or two paths. Really, it's either I don't want nothing to do with it. I'm never going out in the woods again. I'm done. Don't even talk to me about it.
Yeah.
Or they jump head first right into it.
Exactly. And down the road.
Yeah, Yeah, and as a follow-up to what Tex is asking, because and I don't like talking, especially on an interview or having somebody on a show. But in your case, when I had mine, I think I suffer from PTSD, and I really wanted nothing to do with it. What I wanted to do was go back out and, frankly, well, I just wanted to do some bad things to us because I hate always bringing it up, and I'll stop after this. A loved one that I was with passed away 2 months later, and I thought that was because we got yelled at and screamed at. We got hit with infrasound. So I went a deep dark spot. Now I'm certain you did not, but when you had this terrifying encounter and you jumped right into the research, or were you scared to go in the woods, or were you just like, I'm just some badass, and you know what, I'm going forward with this? Because me, I was the opposite, just kind of piggybacking what Tex was talking about.
Yeah, I was scared. I had nightmares, and I still have nightmares. And sometimes I don't make it out of the woods. But no, it scared me. As long as I'm not alone, I do pretty good. But still, sometimes when you get in an area, I still get a little skittish. You can feel that something's not quite right. And maybe that's when you need to get out of there. But just me walking down on my parents' property and, riding four-wheelers down there. It took a long time for me to get on an ATV and go back down in there again. And still, I was looking over my shoulder all the time because I felt like it could be coming up on me any minute. And I'm nothing. I'm little compared to it. So it wouldn't take much to get rid of me. Yeah, I'm quite frightened. Still a little nervous.
So you go and now when you get into this and you start researching, when did you have your next? How long was it before you had your next encounter?
Oh, and not long after, I went out with some local researchers, actually within 30 miles of where I live, and had an experience of rocks thrown at me, something running right up to me and slapping a well house in the middle of the woods. Footprints, lots of activity. And that's not, like I said, not even 30 miles from where I lived at then. And so, yeah, it did not take long for me to have activity. And I was like, wow, these things are everywhere. I mean, I'm not sure it's not the same animal. So the more I spoke with people, the more I started seeing that there were a lot of encounters where I live at in the same county.
Now, I haven't asked, and I probably should have. Are you married or attached or anything? And I've been married 30 years, so I'm not hitting on you. But
I do. I have a boyfriend, but I'm not married.
So,
yes,
what's his view on this stuff?
Oh, I think at first he was like, "Oh gosh, I'm dating a girl that goes bigfooting." He thought I just like to camp. And then I think he was like, "No, not around here." But after I come back with some of the encounters I have, pictures, some video, and he met others in the research group, he's like, something's out there. Excuse me. So I don't think he thinks I'm that crazy anymore.
So you've got him hooked in this whole mess too, huh?
I do. I really do.
So does he go out researching with you?
No. He likes his Keurig. He likes his electricity. And so when we're out in the woods, it's either you bring the generator or you don't get your Keurig or a TV and radio. So he pretty much stays at home, takes care of my birds, and while I go out in the woods.
It's what down here. It's what we call a camp monkey. we always need somebody
Or
back.
you
I
can
can't.
stay,
Of course, he stays
yeah.
at home, but we love our camp monkeys. That's what Jason is. He's our camp monkey, and he just stays in camp, takes care of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So he helps out a lot, but he's not he said there's too many bugs and too much poison ivy. And I agree with that. There are, but if you don't get out there, you won't ever see anything.
That's true. That's true. Now, since you brought up the subject of pictures and footprints and stuff, you sent us some that you've got. And I'll bring them up and you can describe them because I want to talk to you about one of the footprints that you got.
All righty.
Because I got some questions about it. And they're not bad questions. I'm just not sure you've got a footprint of what you think you got.
Gotcha. Okay.
But before we get into the footprint, I want to bring this picture up right here, and as soon as I can figure out how to do it. Now you caught this on FLIR.
I did. It's actually a video that I have. This is a still picture from a video. I took that again. This is actually about 20 miles from where I had my first encounter. First time me using the FLIR and DVR combo to where I could actually record what I saw.
Right.
So I was quite excited when I got this.
Now, for our radio listeners, we're going to have to describe this because on that the image that you're seeing, that we're seeing on the screen, is this thing is all in red, and that's one thing that's one of the good things. It's all one color,
right?
So it's not somebody dressed in a suit. It's not somebody wearing a coat or anything like that, because when you see somebody like that they have different heat signatures throughout the body. And this is all it's all solid red. Now,
right.
Do you know about how far this was away from you when you were filming
it? It's hard to, it was a good ways away. I'm awful with distance, but just to give you an idea, I was on a dirt road in the middle of the night and riding down the road, and I called something. So I told him, I said, stop. I've got something on the FLIR, and I don't know what it is. It's big. And I could see this image, this red dot image. And as we're moving and it moves some, you can see more of a head. You can see more of arm features. And the grass was high. It's you had a tree line, and then it opened out before more trees. It was kind of a clearing area. And it was standing back in the clearing. But the grass was probably at least waist high or more.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm looking at it, it moves. I'm like, okay, this is something really big because it's up against trees. And I know it's hard to tell in the picture, but it's a large patch of trees it's standing against. And it's uniform in colors, though. If it was a human, you would have like where the shirt is. It wouldn't be as
right.
hot, or pants or a hat, because it's got that ridge on its head. So
it's got a conical head. There's no doubt about that.
Right. It would not be red hot, and whatever this was picking up all heat signature. So I was not saying anything. I was staring through a small, 2-inch monitor, trying to figure out what I'm looking at. And because I wasn't saying anything, I guess he thought, it's nothing. So he took off, and I'm like, no, go back. I got something. And so he backs up real quick, and it's gone. I sit there a while. You hear nothing. You see nothing. So it took off quick into the deep brush.
It's amazing to me because I haven't, and I'm not saying that that they're not, the whole interdimensional thing and all this kind of stuff, or that they can or can't cloak. I just haven't experienced it yet. But it does amaze me how fast that they can disappear on one hand. But I understand that because I understand camouflage. I understand, if you even half-ass know what you're doing, a person can do that too,
Very
and
easy.
these things are masters of their environment and they blend in so well. I mean, I've seen the evidence with the translucent hair, and it takes on the color of the background and that type of thing. So it's just amazing. I mean, as large as these creatures are, and they can go unnoticed because they have this a bit. They're very, very patient, and they can stand so still for so long, and I guarantee you there's millions of people out there that's went camping and been walking around and on these nature trails and have walked within 5 feet of these things and never even knew it. Never even knew it. Not to mention, most people, when they're out walking through the woods, are looking down because they don't want to step on a snake. They're not looking up. And these things, they do get in the trees.
Very much so.
So you go ahead. You go ahead and talk. I'm going to work on bringing another picture up.
All right. There's been several times where I've had some tracks in the woods, and all of a sudden they're gone. Like, where did it go? That's something that I have a hard time explaining. You should not have footprints be following a track line, and then they disappear.
We're gonna get into that picture here in a minute. That's now this one is interesting to me.
This picture is in North Carolina, and it was at a primitive camping area where there is one outhouse, and it is multiple handprints on this outhouse. And I actually have a close-up of one of the fingerprints, and you can see it has a fingerprint. It's quite large. I mean, that's my hand against it.
Yeah.
And I actually know kind of the backstory, but it was actually watching some campers there and peeking out and using the well house as like a cover.
Yeah.
Really briefly, you guys, if you notice, my internet's been going in and out. My cable just knocked on my door, and I'm losing my cable in 15 minutes. So I'll kick back and wait for that. I'm sorry to interrupt, Kristen. Go ahead. But unfortunately, these guys picked the wrong day to redo the cable out here. Continue on. Sorry for the interruption.
So, Kristen, like you said, there's multiple handprints on this, and it's a well house.
It's like an old. I'm sorry, not well house, an outhouse.
An outhouse. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I guess if you can put out a smell, and I don't think they smell bad all the time. I think it's something either that happens when they get excited or irritated, or it's something they can actually control.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is yet. But I think, they probably don't have any problem hanging around an outhouse.
No. I know how I smell after being in the woods a weekend, so I can only imagine what they.
Well, and if you think about it, it's pretty ingenious using that for cover because there's not going to be a lot of people just hanging around the outhouse because, they smell pretty dead gum bad,
Yeah. Yeah, and the handprints, they were some, as you can see, I was able to reach the handprints, but there were some prints way above my head, and I think there's a few more, but my hand looks like just a tiny baby hand compared to this print. And if only I could have somehow fingerprinted it, that would have been wonderful. But I didn't have anything with me to
What,
have a fingerprint.
what was it? A muddy handprint? Was it just an oily handprint or what?
Muddy. It
Muddy?
was muddy. When this happened, the weather was not good. So it was, I guess, just wet and dirty. So when it dried, it left behind. That's like the dirt mud that had dried on the side of the well house. So you could see it. It was very clear, very visible. If it had not been bad weather, you would have never known that print was there probably, unless it was a lot of oil.
Yeah. And I think maybe it may have been to get its hands muddy like that. I don't think they walk around with his muddy hands.
Yeah.
If I was to guess, I would say it's probably been digging for grubs or something like that.
I think they go down on all fours, so it could have been
Yeah.
on all fours walking through the dirt and mud. When it stood up, it was just had dirty hands. Didn't have to wash them.
So this picture right here, how far up from the ground is that handprint?
This handprint is probably about 5.5 foot off the ground.
Yeah, that's interesting because it's even if you try to make an argument of it being a human handprint, I don't know. 5 foot's kind of awful high. Somebody's gonna, I don't know. But you said you had others that were well over your head, right?
Right. There's quite a few, and my finger is so small in comparison to one of its fingers. So this thing has to be 3 or 4 feet taller than me, and I'm right at 5'5".
So now let's talk about these footprints. Now this first picture, now is this a picture of the same footprint that you took a casting of? I haven't really looked at it.
Let's
Okay.
see. Yes.
All right. So here's the print that you took. Here's a picture of the print that you took a casting of.
Right.
And is that a 12-inch ruler in there?
I don't believe it was a 12-inch. I want to say it was a 6-inch ruler because the cast toe to heel was right at 17 inches long.
Okay. Now when I'm looking at this, right off the bat, just what sticks out to me is how narrow it gets.
Yeah. Very narrow.
And I've got a picture of a footprint that is, it looks like Fred Flintstone. It's just one width almost all the way down.
Right.
I have seen prints like this that narrow to the heel. And let's bring up the cast real quick. Now, let me ask you a couple questions. How deep was this print? Because I think if I remember right, it was deep enough. Y'all took several castings off of it.
I actually took 2 casts, and the print was still there after 2 castings. It was pressed a good on the toe area. I'm going to say 3 inches in the ground.
Wow.
The foot portion, heel portion was probably at 1.5. It was a lot more on the surface. Most of the weight was towards the ball of the foot, and that was right at 2 inches.
Did y'all have to clear a lot of debris out of it?
Not a lot, no. Just a little bit. You can see it's like it just come up the hill, so it was almost like it may have even drug off some of the debris because I found more tracks. It looked like it come up the side of the creek bank, walked around a tree, walked back around the tree, went forward, walked to the left and then walked to the right again. And eventually I lost the track. Just a lot of leaves. It was like the tracks got lighter. But I could follow it really good as it come up the hill. I guess it was pressing more weight into the ground, moving.
Right.
But yeah, we did not have to clear much debris at all. It was very clear, very easy to find off of a path. So if, you know, we probably would have walked right by it if there had been a light on it.
So let me try to bring this other one up. I'm figure out what I'm doing here. Okay, now here's the cast. Well, that's not the cast. What am I doing wrong here, guys? All right, we're going to back out of this real quick.
All right.
What I'm thinking, and let me tell you what I'm thinking, and I'm wondering, did y'all get any more activity around that where you had the footprint, or
yes,
you did?
Yes.
What kind of activity did you have?
Broken trees, trees that had been uprooted and moved, some tree structures to where exits had been placed. Other, like multiple trees just built up on top of each other, and not like twigs. These are trees. That this is actually where I had my first encounter. That was on my parents' property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where I found that print at, and that was back in actually January of this year when I got the print. And we've also had a lot of. We've had screams, we've had stuff thrown, smells, eerie feelings, and also neighbors have seen this creature as well.
I don't know why this is not working.
Oh.
Dadgummit.
Today's not a good day between my voice and cable.
I'm telling you.
Technology's great till it doesn't act right.
Exactly. I don't know what's going on. I can't get this thing to share now. That is so weird. The reason I was asking about the footprint and everything and the way it narrows at the heel, when I see that, I also start thinking, well, that could have been a dog man. Because the one I saw, that's the kind of foot that it had. I mean, it was up on his toes, but the heel was was narrow,
Yeah.
you know. And so that goes through my mind, you know, and I know that area has that activity also. So I don't want to scare you, but you know.
I mean, that's a possibility. It is odd that it is narrow in the back, but the size is more human-like of a print on the back side of it. But
Right.
that's too big to be a person, and there's no reason anyone would be barefoot wearing those shoes deep in those woods like that. And plus, the track line of how it walked was odd. And I also found a small print too, which I was really excited. Probably, I'm not good with distance, like I said. Probably about 500 foot from that track, I found some small footprints, like toes in the creek bed that I was also able to cast. So I got excited because I'm like, oh, there's a baby.
You know, and I think those are very fascinating to me. When you're walking out in the middle of the freaking woods, you're hundreds of yards from anywhere else, and you find a toddler-sized footprint.
I know.
Who in their right mind is trying to win Parent of the Year, letting their kid walk around in the woods barefoot?
Absolutely none.
Yeah.
That's actually the second child-sized footprint we have found down there. One was in the snow. We found a track line of child-like footprints in the snow. So, and you would follow it, and then the track line, you wouldn't see another footprint. And then beside a tree, you would see another foot, and you could follow it. So I think it was maybe a juvenile, and it was hopping up in the tree as it would run on the snow, play in the snow, and then it'd probably hop in the tree and go tree to tree. That's why you couldn't find any track line. And then back on the ground it goes. But where there's mama, where there's a baby, there's a mama.
Yeah, exactly. And I found another way to share these things real quick. I'm just gotta do some clicking here. Come on, upload. Good grief. Now this is the cast of that print. I finally got it up there.
Yes.
It's not ideal, but I was kind of looking, and the only thing that maybe looks like it has like a claw on it would be that far left toe.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I was looking for. But the other ones aren't showing it. Yeah. Doesn't mean they weren't there. But that's the deepest part of the print. You said it was almost 3 inches deep was a toe. So I would think if it had claws, it would show.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not sure how deep the plaster went because I didn't press it into the print or anything. I wanted it to be able to just get a clean print. Mm-hmm. So I didn't force the plaster into it at all.
Now, when we talk about the heel being narrow, compared to your hand, you're still looking at something that is 4 to 5 inches wide at the heel.
Yeah, I believe it was almost 6 inches wide at the heel.
Yeah.
Got a little hand. So this is my hand up against it. And about a little past midway back toward the heel, there's actually a little bit of a hump in the track. I've heard a lot about the mid-tarsal break being in, so there's actually another, I guess, where the ball of the foot is, you can kind of see a hump in it as well. Maybe it was able to pick that up. Not great, but you can see it.
I think it's a great find, a great catch, and we found prints that on a sandbar, and unfortunately were just too wet to cast because they would just fill up with water and fill up with water and fill up with water. And we were camped above, about, what was it? I think 150 yards from the river. And we were fishing at the same time. We had some throw lines out, and Gary Senior, which is in the chat all the time, and he's one of our trackers. He had throw lines out, and he was going to check them every few hours, and these footprints appeared within one of those times that he went down to check his fishing lines. And we looked all over for the possibility of, because if they had been there while he was going, we would have tracked all over these things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And another thing is we looked all over, up and down this sandbar and everywhere we could to see if there was any evidence of a boat coming up and landing. The river was up, it was flowing pretty good. So I can't see anybody just out messing around in that current.
Yeah.
So that led us to believe that it's very possible that wanted to walk through there, you know. And unfortunately, like I said, we couldn't cast them. But I've got pictures of them. But and I'll show you. You hit me up, I'll show you all that stuff at the conference. But this next picture is, I don't know. You're gonna have to walk me through this one because this is where it kind of goes off. This whole thing kind of goes left here, but because it's one of those weird things that we catch out in the field that we're like, why in the world is this here?
Yeah,
but we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that after the break because we got to say goodbye to our iHeart and Odyssey listeners, and then we'll come back. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Now, y'all don't forget. Do you have a YouTube or do you have anything or?
Not at this moment. I don't. I probably need to start one, but I don't.
Mimi's going to talk because you might have one sooner than you think. So, can anybody find you on Facebook or anything? Or
you can find me on Facebook. Kristen Payton. Payton's my last name. So.
Okay, Kristen Payton on Facebook if y'all want to catch that.
Yep.
Now, don't forget, we're going to be at the Bama Bigfoot Conference June 10th and 11th. Y'all come see us. And we're going to take a 5-minute break, and we will be back. We're going to let Kristen go gargle with some more nasty salt water or something.
Yes.
We'll be right back, guys. Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute. Hello, folks. We are back. And yes, I still have the print up there for y'all to look at. But I'm going to bring Kristen back up, and we'll see how she sounds after that little break. Maybe it did her some good.
Hello.
Hey, I, you know what? I really appreciate you, sticking this out. It's, I know it ain't easy, but unfortunately, we lost Rob. They cut his cable, so he is not a happy camper.
Not.
He was looking forward to this interview, and it's and this is his show, so
I got a feeling somebody in the cable company is going to hear it in a little while.
Oh, I'm sure. I bet that I kind of feel sorry for them boys that are doing it. I bet he's probably giving them what for out there. But he's very passionate about this, and I tell you what, when you mess with it, I stepped on his toes the other day with the book because he does the booking, as you know. And I stepped on his toes the other day and went and scheduled a show. And good grief, he took me out to the woodshed.
Oh, watch out now.
But now, this next picture that we're going to look at, like I said, to me, it's nice to have another researcher that's running in all this crazy crap. Yes. At the same time, they're looking for these critters, because we've ran into so much stuff, and it's just one thing that we always talk about is if you take somebody and they're out in the woods and they say, I saw a big humanoid dark figure with red glowing eyes. Oh, it's a Bigfoot, right? What else could it be?
Yeah.
But if you take that same description and put it in somebody's bedroom, it's demonic.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's just we've had to narrow what we call a Bigfoot encounter so far, because honestly, if it's not It's not like a daylight sighting or even a nighttime sighting where you can pick out details. We can't call it, we just can't say that it's not paranormal because we've been running into so much paranormal stuff when we're out there, especially the place we go. I don't know if you know about it, but Brown Springs, Oklahoma, it's just ate up with paranormal activities. I mean, spiritual level out there is just insane. We've had, in fact, Gary Spikes Sr. that's in the chat, and his son Gary Spikes Jr. They're two of our trackers, and there was 5 of us that went up to, and I tell the story every time, but there was 5 of us that went up to. It's an old cemetery up on a hill in the woods, sets off about 100 or so yards up on a hill. And when I mean in the woods, I mean in the woods. You can't drive to it unless you got just one badass rock climber of a 4-wheel drive. You're not going to get up there. It's been the trail that used to be the road to the cemetery has washed out so much that when you're standing in it, the actual ground level is eye level. So yeah, I mean it's washed out that deep, and it's washed out like this. So it's uneven. It's not an easy trek up there, but and we feel because of the location and everything that it originally started out as an Indian burial mound, and then there was a feller that was Chickasaw that bought this property or owned this property. I don't know, but anyway, he ended up with his property, and now it is it's a wilderness refuge, wildlife refuge, and it's named after him. Well, the whole county in Oklahoma is named after him, but his family's buried up there. And then some white folks took it over. There's white folks buried up there. Well, then this sorry excuse for a human got a hold of it and built pig pens in the cemetery. Because it's such a great place for drainage. And then at the bottom, and what's really cool about this place is there's a freshwater spring that bubbles up right at the bottom of the hill.
Oh, how interesting!
And it runs it runs directly underneath the cemetery and then bubbles up on the side of it. So yeah, it's just crazy. And but anyway, the 5 of us were up there. It was Gary Jr. and Sr., myself, and 2 ladies from What the Paranormal. It's a mother and daughter group that we collab with quite a bit. And Lainey, the daughter, is very, very sensitive. The mother is too, but not near what Lainey is. And so I'm over here with the girls about 20 or so yards away from Junior and Senior. Well, and this all happens simultaneously. Junior and Senior start seeing these entities. They jump up out. There's about 3 or 4 of them. And they start out in a tree. They come down out of the tree. They're going up on. They're on all 4s. They go up on 2 legs.
Oh my gosh!
And they almost have a cat-like or quality to it, but they don't look, or a canine quality to them. They just don't look right.
Yeah.
Okay. And it got so intense that Senior had drawn his pistol. These entities were approaching them.
Wow.
Okay. And when they finally hit them with a flashlight. And when they hit them with a flashlight, these entities would disappear.
Oh my
and
goodness.
then when they turn the flashlight off, they'd be right back where they were.
That sounds creepy.
Yeah, very, very much so. At the same time they're dealing with this, me and the girls are over at what we thought was we kind of thought was a family plot there for a little bit, but we think it's what used to be or what's left of an old mausoleum that was there. And we're over there, and I start getting this. My arms get hot; they get heavy, like you've been working out, is what it felt like. And at the same time, Lainey starts getting her little spidey sense going off, and I start telling them what's going on with me. They're trying to talk me through it because I'd never had this happen to me before. This particular feeling, I've had stuff happen, but not this. And so they're kind of talking me through this, and they said it's possibly something trying to attach itself to you. You know, so I was like, okay, well, I don't want none of that. You know, so then we got this spirit ghost box app thing going, and we get 3 words. We get solo, beast, grace. Okay. Just boom, boom, boom. And what was odd about this, down at the bottom of the hill, Amy's husband was parked in his truck down there waiting on us.
No bad self.
And my truck was parked right next to him. Now, earlier in the evening at base camp, one of the guys had commented about him being a beast because he's a big boy. I mean, he's a big boy. I wouldn't want to hang with him. And he called him, he goes, damn, your husband's a beast. Okay. So we got that, and then he's down by himself, solo down there. Now he's not out investigating. He's just sitting in the truck waiting on us fools to get back.
His own business.
Yeah. So, and then Grace, the reason that is pertinent is because my truck, I named my truck Grace.
Wow.
Because there's a serial killer, Albert Fish, and his last victim was Grace Budd. She was a 10-year-old girl, and I, honest to God, think she reached out of the grave and nailed his ass. I really do. It's an interesting story, but he did something completely out of character that he'd never done before, and it got him caught, and it involved her and her family. So I think she reached beyond the grave and you know, had some influence. That's just my opinion. Now, so we've got all this going on at the same time in the cemetery. Well, then my headlamp and Amy's big 6x9 freaking LED blot out the freaking sun lamp that she carries, they both go off at the same time. We're dark. We're dark. Well, then when it comes back on, the dial that you can adjust the intensity level of her light with,
right?
When she turns it up, it goes down. When she turns it down, it goes up. Backwards. So we start thinking, all right, well, let's go ahead and we got all this stuff going on. Let's go ahead and get out of here, right? Yeah. So we start making our way back. Well, then I catch a noise over behind us in the back of the cemetery. And Senior has been stalked by big cats before. His hackles go up and he goes, man, we got a big cat around here somewhere. And I'm hearing this thing behind us. So we make our way back down the trail. Junior sees a big cat jump across the road. So we leave and he stops us. He says, all right, stop. He gets out, goes and look, and he finds a big old cat track in the middle of the road.
Oh, goodness.
So, yeah, so that was an off the chain night. I mean, it was crazy.
That's crazy.
Running into the paranormal, and I know that was, I give Junior a hard time because one of his favorite things is to say, to make a long story short, and he's never done that in his life. And I give him hell for that. But I have the same problem. So, but the whole gist of that was the level of paranormal that we run into in the field, you know, looking for Bigfoot. And I have talked to very, very, very few researchers that haven't had the same problem, you know. And what we're trying to do on this channel is separate it, untangle that web, because I think a lot of people, most researchers have been cramming all this into the Bigfoot box, right, you know, but I don't think it's all Bigfoot. you know. So that being said, let's bring this picture up.
All right.
Because, and you got to explain this.
I'll try. Because I don't have much explanation for it either, but I'll sure try.
Yeah, because I know what you called it in when you're talking to Jessica, but I don't know. I mean, I know. I wish I don't know if he's in the chat or not, but Duke. And I have a. You're going to have to explain how you caught this, what kind of camera, and all this kind of stuff, because it's just weird looking.
Yes.
I mean,
I was not actually the person to get this. It was Dave Moser, and he does have this copyrighted because we don't know what it is. But I was out in the field with Dave Moser, and we had heard some things. We'd had some experiences.
Right.
And he had recorded. He actually did not see this, but as he was panning, he had a thermal eye camera. And as he was panning, this little creature, as he hits it with the thermal eye, it's holding onto the tree, and it swings as soon as he hits it around behind the tree to get out of the field of vision. As he pans off of it and goes back to it, it has swung back around. So whatever this thing was could see us or see the light being produced from his thermal eye. So it knew it was being recorded. But we actually found the tree where it was at, and the bark was gone off of the tree. You could see where something had been holding on and moving on that tree. What it is, we don't know. But I mean, I can make out pretty clearly like an ear where its eyes should be, a nose, its little arm, and maybe a leg. But whatever this was, it was probably 2 foot tall. So it was not big. It was a small creature.
Well, and I know, and Duke is in the chat, and so I'm wondering if, because he's had run-ins with the little people and what he calls gugways, or whatever, most people call gugways, and I never have, that I know of. I have suspicions that they have been around and given me hell, but I haven't seen one. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
And this thing, what I'm having a problem is because you said this is on thermal, right?
It is. I actually believe it's called a thermal eye, but it's actually, I believe it's night vision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's not registering like a FLIR. It's but what if you look at it, and I can see where somebody could make out a face and a mouth and some eyes and a head, but the head almost looks like a bulbous head to me.
Yeah.
If we're looking at it the same way.
Oh, I see exactly what you're talking about. And we were trying to explain, what is that on its head? We called it the troll because we're like, maybe it's hair. Maybe it's hair on its head.
Yeah, maybe.
But
what I don't understand is what's the long thick thing running almost at an angle, and to me that's what I don't understand, and I wish what's going to have to happen is me and you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to say, okay, see, well, here's what I'm seeing. I'm going to have to say, okay, here's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Because if all of this is a heat signature and the dark spot is a tree, right?
Actually, excuse me, the light area is a tree. It's going diagonal, the tree is, and this little creature's like hanging on to it right here. So it's got its little arm wrapped around the tree, but this is actually a small tree it is hanging on.
Okay. See, I think we're looking at this two different ways.
Yeah, but on the video, you can see it swing and move around that diagonal stick like.
Oh man,
tree.
I wish you'd have sent me that video. That's something I'd love to see.
I don't have the video. I wish I did. But I do have a lot of still pictures.
Right.
Video because this was taken probably about 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but it was, you can actually see it. It will move and swing. And as the camera, night vision, like points away from it, it moves back around the tree watching us. So whatever this was, it could see either the night vision or maybe us a lot better than we could see it, because we didn't see it until looking at the video that there's something on this tree that's moving and it's little and we don't know what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what all we're running into. I can't say what we are and what we're not. It's just some of the stuff that we run into is just so crazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to bring up a couple of these weird things that's been caught in the area that we go to and show you and see what you think. And most of the people in chat have seen these before, but this is from a video. These are two still shots from a video also that Amy and Laney actually took the first time they went out to Brown Springs up in the cemetery. They had no clue they were dealing with Bigfoot or Dogman or anything. They just wanted to investigate a cemetery. And when they put the video out on their channel, me and everybody else is like, what are y'all doing up there alone? Do you realize what you got up there? And they were like, well, we won't be going back because and one thing that they experienced up there was they kept hearing puppies crying.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that could be wrote off very naturally, coyote pups, whatever, you know, stray dog pups, whatever. Right. Yeah. But they kept, from and if I remember right, they kept like moving, you know, the sound kept moving. So it's like they were trying to lure them away or lure them over there into the woods or something. Right. But then what they were taking a video up there and they were just panning around. And now this first one, it doesn't look like much. It's just a black blur, right? The brown part is a tree on the right hand side. Okay. And then you have that black smudge, which is nothing, right? Well, then you get this.
Oh, wow.
Now, on the video, this first picture right here is actually this entity, and that's all I can call it, this entity materializing out of this tree. And when it solidifies, it turns left or turns right and walks off.
Oh my gosh.
Now, to me, I the first time I saw it, I'm like, it looks like a freaking Jawa from Star Wars.
It does.
You know, and it was only about 4 feet tall.
Oh, it's little.
Yeah. And it almost looks like it's got a little tail off of it, right? Little nubbin tail right there.
It's kind of cute.
Yeah, I know, right? But they've caught, there's been pictures, just not by them. Other researchers have caught images of a small boy up there. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. A researcher named Dotson. He passed away several years ago, or a few years ago. He was one of the first ones, if not the first one, that started investigating this area. And he's got pictures that came out of there that just blow me away. I mean, you know, but and not Bigfoot pictures. Another researcher that that goes down there. I've got a picture of his, and it looks like a canine creature sitting on a grave.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's just so much crazy stuff, and I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, what my main thing is, I don't think people understand everything they're dealing with when they go out looking for this stuff.
Not at
You
all.
know,
Mm.
and how careful you really have to be, and how much you have to protect yourself.
Yeah. Had several occurrences too that were not Bigfoot. Voices, people talking in the middle of nowhere. Disembodied. I know you talked about the puppies. Well, there was a cat where we were at. I mean, you'd never found the cat, but you would hear a cat meowing. But there was no cat there. So it's just a lot of odd things that we run into while Bigfooting as well. Maybe it's paranormal, interdimensional. I don't know. I just went head first into the rabbit hole, and it just keeps getting deeper.
Oh, I know. There is no end in sight. I thought I saw the light at the end of the tunnel one time, and it just turned out to be a train. But it's it just never ceases to amaze me when we go out in the field, because we always come back with a whole lot more questions than we do answers.
We do.
I mean, we've got, we've had, I've got audio of 7 or 8 of us sitting around the campfire talking about that night I just told you about. And we get whistled at, and then there's audio of growls that I was going up there. I used to go up there a lot solo. I did a lot of my stuff solo. And I'd go up to the cemetery by myself 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, midnight, whatever, on the full moon. It didn't matter. And I ran into some crazy stuff. I've got audio of something growling at me for like 4 minutes when I'm walking around my truck getting stuff ready that I never heard until I played it back. And it sounds like it's in my microphone. And then about 12 minutes into the trip up into the video or audio, when I'm walking up the trail, you hear a female voice, and I'm by myself in the middle of the freaking night, and you hear a female voice go, "Come on."
Oh, wow.
And it's like, and I never heard that. And I never heard that either till I played it back. And there was 6 or 7 of us sitting around camp one night, and we heard a woman laugh off in the woods on one side of the camp, and then a little while later we heard her laugh on the other side of the camp off in the woods. So I mean, it's just insane stuff, we find, and then I mean, you not only find that kind of stuff, run into that kind of stuff, you run into the, I don't know if I can call it natural or not, but good grief, we found small females' clothes folded up out in the woods. Shorts, top, shoes, sunglasses, all just in a neat little pile. Yeah, that's spooky.
That is quite spooky.
It's
actually spookier than hearing something recorded and you play back and realize a crowd.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I had one time I was out there. I went out there by myself, and I get out of my truck and I'm walking around getting my stuff ready, for the camp out and everything. And it was just going to be me. And I get a whiff of something, and it's something dead, right? I'm like, okay, what is this? Well, then I'm looking around and I see this suitcase that's laying wide open that somebody had tossed over the side, and it's got school papers, pictures of a young boy, and then I'm smelling something dead, and I'm like, oh no, this is not the way I want this to go, but I got to figure out what's going on. So I tracked the smell. Turns out somebody had brought their dog out and shot it.
Oh.
Now, it's not the worst thing I've seen, so I'm glad they shot it and just put it down. But, I guess they needed a place to dump it. They couldn't afford it. I don't know. But anyway, I was actually relieved. I was saddened and relieved that it was a dog,
Right.
because I was scared to death I was going to find a body. I really, really was, because this place is a notorious body dump.
Oh gosh.
And I mean, we filmed, it was a body dump for the DFW, the Dallas Fort Worth Mafia back in the day. And it continues to be, bodies are found out there under mysterious circumstances. In fact, we shot a documentary with Tippa TV out there. 2 weeks after we shot the documentary, there was a body found.
My goodness.
So the energy level out there, just the energy level alone out there is, you can, it's dark.
Paranormal hotspot.
Oh yeah, and that's the problem we're having. We've actually done experiments on, if we move further away from the cemetery, and does the paranormal activity fall off? And we think we may have found a place where we don't get as much, if any at all. We don't know for sure, but it was pretty good. We didn't have the level of activity that we normally have in this spot that we went down 3 or 4 miles down the road. So that was a good thing. But, and just weird stuff, that people do weird stuff out there for some reason.
Yeah, we've run up on some very odd people in the woods. Yeah, so I always carry a gun when I go.
Mm-hmm. I've started,
You want to kill a Bigfoot, or you want to kill? I was like, no, there's some crazy people out there. So I feel like I need to protect myself against them, not so much the animals or the Bigfoot or whatever it is in the woods. It's the people.
I started packing for honestly, the reason I started packing was I kept running into pigs, because there's such a big pig problem out there, and they're just so freaking, unpredictable that you can't tell how they're going to behave. I got a buddy of mine that had to go hand to hand with one, because it attacked him. And so, I said, well, if I'm going to do this by myself, carrying something other than a Bowie knife would probably be a smart thing to do. So, and then the tipper really was, we were out there one night, and it was me and our executive producer, Bob, and Amy Laney and Cody, her husband. And I was going to take them up to the cemetery, and we pulled up to the bottom of the cemetery where we're always parked. Next thing we know, we're surrounded by 5 cop cars. Okay. Tribal police and sheriff's deputies. We're like, okay, we're cool, whatever. So, but we ended up talking to these fellers for about 45 minutes. And they actually, and I won't say which department, but one of the departments actually told us that 2 of their officers has had Bigfoot sightings out there.
Isn't that amazing?
But the reason that they were there in the first place they were looking for a coven of witches that was out there sacrificing chickens.
No.
And so, I mean, it's a lot of dark energy out there, just so.
That's crazy. I mean,
yeah. Well, people love to go out there, and I get a lot of people. Hey, can we go? Yeah, I'll take you. Because I don't want to go out there. I don't want people just going out there and wandering around, because I know what's out there.
Right.
And not just the critters and the paranormal stuff, like we were saying. Now it's really, really bad with the druggies, and I mean, the well-known campsites out there, they're primitive, don't get me wrong, but the well-known campsites out there, it's nothing to find, crack pipes and syringes and broken glass and all that kind of stuff. So you really, really, I don't advise anybody to go out there alone. And my crew grounded me. They said, "You're not going out there by yourself anymore."
Yeah, it can be dangerous. I mean, it's nice to go out by yourself and very peaceful, but it's also very dangerous.
Yeah. But so what do you have on tap? What is in the future for you with all this stuff?
Oh, I don't know. I still want to get out in the woods more. Because the more I'm out there, the more experiences I can have.
Right.
With school and work, I've been very limited, but I'm kind of on break right now. So hopefully I'll be out in the woods a lot more. And my main thing is just getting out in the field and getting pictures and videos, because I can sit here and tell everybody 1,000 encounters I've had. And they'll be like, okay, if you have something to back that up, they're like, okay, maybe this is a little bit more credible.
Well, and I say it all the time. It's a damned if you do and damned if you don't type thing, because if you get what what is so often called a blob squatch picture, oh, well, there ain't nothing but a bunch of trees and shadows and pareidolia,
Right.
But if you get a really good picture, oh, that's fake.
Yeah.
So well, where do you want me to go with this, guys? I mean, it's like,
yeah. I want to try to collect more evidence. Just, I guess, mainly to show the world that there is something out there. We're not all crazy that go out in the woods looking for Bigfoot. Right. And I get that a lot. But I mean, at least I can have proof more than you won't believe what just happened this weekend.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is what happened.
Yeah. And I can't, it's like what, and I haven't released this audio yet because I'm still breaking it down. I'm still going over it. But last time I was out, the last night we were there, I'm in my tent and I hear what I thought was somebody walking around. I thought it was Gary Jr. walking around because we were camping. The campsite was in gravel, and somebody was walking around my tent, and I'm like, okay, somebody's gonna take a whiz over here inside my tent. Thanks, guys. And then it quit, and then my cot was over in the corner of my tent, so my head's right by the side of the tent, and I get this.
Oh, wow.
Right by my head. And I'm like, okay. And I'm laying there, and I've heard this story before, but I'm laying there and I'm going, okay, what could this be? It could be a pig, it could be a deer, it could be this, could be, and we started to see bear in the area. It could be a bear, whatever, it could be a critter, whatever. And then my next thought was, shit, my pistol's in my trunk. So what I did was I just reached over, I grabbed my phone, I hit record, and I lay back down. I went to sleep. I wasn't asleep like that. 39 seconds in after I hit record on my phone, 39 seconds, this massive freaking tree knock.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was a ways off, but it echoed down through the bottoms.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been a bear or a pig or a deer doing that.
Right. So I'm thinking, okay, but yeah, and it's really, if you ever get down in this neck of the woods, I'll take you out there.
That'd be great. Love to.
But what's really cool, I think, about you being in Georgia and everything, there's nothing that's keeping, you and Jessica from hooking up.
Right. Yeah, I actually go out with her a good bit in the woods.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah, we researched it.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, so she's a great partner because it's all guys. So we're over there like, oh, my hair. So I have somebody to hang out with. That's pretty awesome. But yeah, we research a good bit out in the woods together.
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do is when you get your voice back, after we get the conference out of the way. I want to have you and her, and we can do it on her show, but I'd rather have it on my show just because I'm like that. But I do want to get y'all together on the same show, and with one or more of us, and so we can just spend a couple hours telling war stories or whatever. So
that'd be great because she's experienced and been out there experiencing the same things.
Right.
With me when all this has happened. So we can both verify that this is happening and also our different take on what has happened, what it was. So yeah, that'd be great.
And what's cool about what we're trying to do here on our channel is just because we don't agree with somebody, because I don't agree with everything Jessica says. Okay. And I don't agree with everything Rob says. I don't agree with everything Jason says. I'm not hard to get along with. I just have my point of view and they have theirs. But the difference is that we can all sit down and have a discussion, have an intelligent conversation, from different points of view and different aspects. And that's me and Duke Sullivan are the same way. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of people. And that's fine. But me and him can sit down and, dude, we'll have the greatest conversations, and it's just awesome, So, but if we can't come together and be in both camps, be open-minded enough to, and I say, man, I beat this dead horse all the time. If we can't be open-minded enough to have an intelligent, civil conversation and with somebody going, on both sides going, okay, I can understand where you come to that conclusion. Maybe I need to look at this a different way.
Right.
If we don't do that, if we don't start doing that, we're never going to learn anything. We're going to be right where another 50 years from now, we're going to be right where we were today.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And
that's something good about the groups that I research with. We may not all agree. Oh, it's this or it's that.
Right.
But we all understand each other and listen to your point of view. We all have our own opinions. They might not be the same, but that's okay. We're all out there doing this together.
Right. And I think I honestly, I think it makes for a more interesting and enjoyable conversation when people don't totally agree. They're not just trying to push one side of the narrative. They're going, you got two sides of the narrative going at each other, but in a, like I said, in a civil way. But I've had you on here, and I am sorry. We said we was going to try to cut this short, and it's been we're working on on over an hour and a half now, and
you'll hear me somewhat. So
well, and I have to apologize, but I kind of did it on purpose. I feel like I've kind of dominated the conversation because I'm just so worried about your voice. I'm just trying to do most of the talking. But tell me you're going to come back though.
I'd love to.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. We got you hooked.
You got me. Maybe next time you'll be able to understand what I'm saying a little bit better.
Right. Well, I'm going to beat up anybody that bashes you because you can't talk. You're a hell of a trooper getting on here and doing this for an hour and a freaking half with my dumb ass.
No, it was great to be here. I just hated he had some cable issues.
Yeah, I'm going to talk him down. So he don't kill nobody or something.
No, we got that.
Make sure you don't have any cable guys buried under his floorboards or something.
Yeah, watch out.
But we're going to say goodbye. And thank you, everybody, for joining us live and that's going to listen afterwards. Y'all, please look up Kristen Payton on Facebook. And we're going to see, if I have my way about it, we're going to be seeing a lot more of her.
That'd be awesome.
So, but thank you again, Kristen. It's been a blast.
Well, thank y'all for having me. I appreciate and I look forward to working with you in the future, maybe.
Oh,
Out in the
definitely.
field.
There you go. There you go. Guys, y'all have a safe weekend. And we're going tomorrow to investigate supposed to be one of the most haunted places in Texas. It's called the Hill House or the Hell House. There's supposed to be a ornery old spirit out there that has told people to get out of his room and pulled one old gal off the bed that she was laying on and all kinds of different stuff. We're going to go see how he tackles this guy. So, but yeah, it's an overnight investigation. We're really looking forward to it. And the really cool part is we're going to go do our investigation. We're going to keep it under wraps. Jessica's going to remote view the place. And then we're going to come together and we're going to compare notes live on air.
I'll be looking forward to it.
So that's going to be a good one. Y'all be safe. Kristen, take care of yourself. And I'm going to hit the button and get us out of here.
All right. Bye. Thank you.